Yo, 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 it's your girl Monica back at it again. What's up, y'all? Happy New Year. Be ready for this noise, though. So today's January 22nd, which is the Lunar New Year. So happy New Year, happy Chinese New Year. This happens to be the year of the water rabbit. And let's talk about what the water rabbit represents. Now, me, myself, I happen to be a fire rabbit. And I'm not going to go into the whole story of the race, but the year of the rabbit represents new beginnings, renewal of good health, happiness, and fortune. And year of the water rabbit symbolizes longevity, positivity, and is predicted to be a year of hope. So the Chinese calendar has a 60-year cycle with 12 earthly branches, each representing an animal and the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And so this year's element is water, meaning that things will feel a little bit more fluid, or things will require a little bit more fluidity from you. In other words, go with the flow this year. The year of the rabbit will also strengthen bonds. So in addition to rabbits being peaceful energy, the water element brings intuition and inner peace. And water's all about tapping into our inner wisdom and trusting our instincts. So perhaps this year may encourage us to be more in tune with our emotions and sensitive to those around us. This year will encourage us to build bridges instead of walls in our relationships. So really finding that inner peace and connecting to that intuition is going to be a key part to helping you and keeping you motivated and diligent and disciplined so that you're able to make space and be ready to receive all of the beautiful blessings and abundance that this new year is going to be bringing to you. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful new year. If it hasn't started off so great, then have no fear, because that's exactly why the Lunar New Year is going to be so special for you. Now, I can't calculate your birth year and what animal you are. You're going to have to do that on your own time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
However, what I do know is that this is a complete reset of the moon cycles. And as most of you guys know, your moon sign is the ruler of your emotions. Just emotions taking me over. And if you haven't felt like this year has started off to be a great year, well, now this is your moment to know that today we get a reset to make it a great one. So go with the flow, be like water, my friend.
This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
If most of y'all don't know, that was Bruce Lee, my friend. Get crunk with it, get loose with it. Like Show said, let Bruce hit it. Oh, man. Wow. Anyway, let's get back on track today. There is a beautiful episode ahead. This is going to be that pick-me-up, that motivation that you need to keep it pushing. You feel me? So if you already gave up on your goals and your New Year's resolution, redirect, and let's start again. So last year, as I was reflecting back on the year, I was thinking about all of the bittersweet moments that happened. There were some really challenging times. There were some really hard low blows. I lost the matriarch of our family, my beautiful grandmother. She left this world and earned her wings, and her soul is eternally resting. She left on November 1st on this earthly plane. And that was something that really took a toll on me, that I needed to take a little time to repair and grieve, and also take care of my mom as she lost her mom. So, I took some time for myself, so I hadn't put anything out there. And also, it really takes me a lot to really ground myself and get in the groove to where I am giving you quality, not quantity, okay? Quality. So one of the things for this year for me that I really am focusing on is exuding more love than I did last year, meaning I want to give with a full and overflowing cup of love in abundance. I want to give you guys 100% of that for those of you guys who do listen. And I'm so thankful to the people who have reached out and who've let me know that they were waiting on these episodes, because I had no idea. I give these things because in my heart they tell me it's time, give it to them. So that's what I do. But it also takes a lot. I'm out here doing the work by staying in alignment. I'm holding myself accountable. I'm staying disciplined. I'm being good to my mind. I'm being good to my soul. I'm being good to my body, to my spirit. I'm feeding myself all of the love so that my cup is overflowing, so I can give it to you, to who needs it, who's listening to it. So I definitely appreciate you. And after reflecting upon last year, one of the biggest things for me was it was a time for family. And I was able to heal and repair a lot of empty gaps within my family that needed to be filled, voids, and also forgiveness. My family went through a 12-year cycle of a tyrannical reign from a little piece of paper called the power of attorney. There were a lot of hearts that were hurt and within the family. So my family as a whole went through a very traumatic experience. And there's a lot of trauma that my family as a whole are still trying to repair. And it's been really tough because sometimes it's your own family member. And these things don't really get talked about often within families and within people. But I know other people who have also gone through similar experiences, all because of this little paper called the power of attorney, that allows somebody to have the power to act as them and to make decisions for them. Moral of the story: my grandma loved us more than anything in this world. And she was kept from us, and we were kept from her. And it hurts. I think what hurts the most is that she left without being surrounded by the love that she gave us so freely. And we wanted to spend time with her, and we knew that she wanted to see us too, but we were not allowed a lot of times. She was here and then she was gone, and unable to say the things that you wanted to say, unable to spend quality time with somebody you love so much. Me for my grandma, my mom and her siblings as their mom. It would kill me to not be able to be there with my mom in the end or in her last days. I can't even think about it. I think about my mom and I cry, and I'm like, oh my God.
Mama, you know I love you.
So although it's taken a lot for my family to heal, and it's going to take some time to repair from this as a whole, we had some extremely joyous occasions as well in 2022. And The loss of my grandma that we all felt so deeply brought us closer together. We had a beautiful Christmas, an amazing New Year together, which we hadn't done that since back in the day at my grandma's house. So it was actually so beautiful. All my cousins, aunts, and uncles, man, we had so much quality time. One of my favorite cousins, he got married, and we got to celebrate him and Dahlia. Shout out to Eric and Dahlia in Cleburne, Texas. I love y'all so much. And I love you all who have followed me on this journey and who was all present in 2022 for the Third Eye Therapy episodes. We are back at it again, 2023, and I'm ready to deliver to you some of the things that have been on my heart that I've collected in the time that I was not present here in your ear. So today we're going to be talking about a couple things. I'm going to introduce you guys to somebody amazing who I met in 2022. This was one of my clients and one of my friends who really inspired me. So Nora is going to be somebody who I'm going to introduce to y'all here in just a little bit. She's got some really interesting perspectives, but she has also enlightened me with PTG. And PTG stands for post-traumatic growth. Oh, we're about to talk about it. We're about to get all into this. So y'all stay tuned. There is so much more coming. But before I give you guys Nora's beautiful energy, I have a quick question for you. Are you postponing joy? Ask yourself that right now. Am I postponing joy? What's your answer? All right, beautiful souls. Today's episode Drop of Love is going to begin, and it's going to leave you with some serious food for thought. So some of you may have heard of the phrase carpe diem, seize the day, which reminds us to seize the joy in every moment of life. It reminds us to spread our arms, hearts, and minds open to the wonders, the beauty, happiness, and love that are just an arm's length away from us. Yeah, that sounds amazing. That's ultimately what I want, but not right now. First, I need to heal this or that. Or I'm not finished with this yet or that. Or sure, that opportunity sounds good, but what if it's just a letdown like every time before? Are you postponing joy? Are you suffering with the compulsion of a repetitive pattern that feeds your brain and nervous system that you have this false illusion of complete control? Whew, I didn't mean to give it to y'all like that, but man. We can only control how we respond and how we react. Paying close attention to our bodies and listening to how it responds and reacts to the emotions that pass through, or the feelings we get, or if our chests are pounding, or if anxiety sets in, or our breathing changes and we're breathing a little bit faster, our chest gets tight, or overthinking happens, or we start sweating, or we feel quote unquote, oh, don't say the word, don't say it, triggered. If this is you, you may be guilty of postponing joy. But you want to know something cool? You can learn to choose joy, receive joy, give joy by practicing with action, and by also practicing mindfulness and extending grace to yourself by meeting yourself exactly where you're at right now in this present moment. What opportunities are right in front of you that you're denying yourself from having or opening yourself up to receiving joy? Are you postponing joy? Why? Rather than this repetitive thought of healing ourselves as if we're damaged goods, is only postponing our joy longer and feeding our brains more and more thoughts of not being healed enough. Then our brain delivers this message to our nervous system that starts feeding our hearts and minds that we're not even close to being healed enough to allow ourselves to feel joy, because there's more and more things we need to fix. Or we don't allow ourselves to feel joy to take that next step or that next opportunity. And oftentimes we don't even feel that we're even deserving of joy in life or good enough for it, rather than you acknowledging how far you've come. Extending a little grace to yourself goes a long way. And despite of whatever setbacks or traumatic experiences happened, not to downplay them or take away from any of those real experiences that shook you, but instead think of it as how you learn and grew from that. Your emotions and feelings are valid. And if you've never heard that before, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You deserve joy. And more than anybody, you deserve joy the most because of the things that you have gone through and you have overcome. You definitely deserve joy. And some of these experiences were either teachers or lessons. And learn to extend grace, love, and gratitude to yourself for how strong you were during these experiences, for what it has taught you, and how going forward that you can handle these situations as they come, and seeing this as an opportunity for more self-awareness. And open your heart up to your vulnerability that you're progressively and actively healing by meeting yourself where you're at right now in this present moment. You were beautifully and wonderfully made. You are perfectly imperfect. And if nobody's ever told you, you're so beautiful. Your soul is so beautiful. And you are so deserving of joy. I believe that for me, and I believe that for you. And I believe that there is no such thing as a coincidence. So being aware of and paying close attention to your mind, body, and spirit connections, and believing that all of these beautiful occurrences, opportunities, people, and experiences have been put on your path in divine timing. You're fortunate to have crossed paths with this person or this opportunity or that opportunity, or to experience what life has to offer here and there. But in order for us to fully receive all of this, we have to let go of the false sense of control, because you have none. Learn to flow. Learn to flow. 2023, we're out here flowing like water. Be water, my friends. So that was heavy on my heart, and that's something that I definitely wanted to share with you guys. But now I get to share Nora. Nora is one of my clients. I love her so much. We just vibed, okay? How I met Nora? Oof. Let's see. I don't know. Nora, do you want to say how I met you?
Yeah, I'll say it. So I went to Pretty Kitty. Shout out Pretty Kitty, honestly.
Pretty Kitty, Washington Heights.
Because this is the best wax place I have ever been to in my life. Every single time, I'm telling you, this is the least painful wax ever. I'm willing to stand by it as well.
That's right, y'all. I met Nora. I waxed Nora. But you see what I mean when I say there's no such thing as coincidences? Because I met Nora, and boy, am I happy I met Nora. And me as a waxer, I've been waxing now 17 years.
Damn.
I've been waxing 17 years.
That's why you're so good at it. Because, like, I'm telling you, because, you know, when you're doing something that's uncomfortable every time, it's like, you just kind of want to be in and out with it, you know? And you fucking get it done every time. Sick. Your experience is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That's what sets you apart.
Thank you so much.
Sick.
It's like a skill that you consistently master. So you know how I told you I was a makeup artist.
From repetition comes mastery.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. From repetition comes mastery. Which you can apply that in all the things. So the monk life that I live, it requires me to put on this costume that people see me in every single day and interacting with these women. I'm doing Brazilian waxes every 15 minutes, y'all.
Is that your number one thing? You never get like because you guys do other types.
I wax everything.
Have you waxed men's Brazilians?
Yes, I have done men's Brazilians, and people ask me all the time, is that weird? And I'm like, it's a change of scenery.
Oh, that feels warm. Kidding me? Hold my goddamn hand, man. Do it. Just hold. Okay, here we go. Ooh, no. Yep. 1, 2, 3. Como se llama? No, Kelly Clarkson. Yep, that's how I met you, Nora.
I have to use a lot of interpersonal skills.
Dude, of
I'm
course,
having
when
to
you're
exude,
interacting with humans. Yeah.
I'm having to exude so much of myself and energy throughout the day with these people. So for me, I have to really ground myself. So that monk life for me represents everything that I do all the time. It's being constantly in awareness. Because this point in time in my growth is really pushing me more inward, but it's also reminding me that I still am human and I need to go and have those interactions with people and I need to socialize and I need to, part of it before was anxiety. However, I don't like to see anxiety as a crutch to stop me from things because if not now, then when, right?
Dude,
I give myself, I ask myself the question, am I postponing joy? Right now in this moment, am I postponing joy? What is it that I really want? What is it that my body and my soul craves? Is it connection with somebody else? Is it connection with myself? Or is it a career change?
Or is it like fold those towels now
so
you don't have to fold them
fucking
later?
Exactly. Is it like,
sometimes I'm just like, fuck these towels,
clean my space, declutter my space. Am I going to go to the gym and do this workout? Am I going to go ride my bike? What is your soul deeply craving? And whatever that is, it's important to use that. Ask yourself, am I postponing joy? And for those who do say anxiety, they have anxiety, which I can say I do. Socially, I talk myself out of it because I know I have to preserve so much of my energy. Not to be selfish, but to keep myself aligned.
Right.
I'm really learning now, since I've never been a routine kind of person, I have started incorporating a routine.
I think every human being, for some part of their life, if they're able to I tell myself weekdays, I'm a Doberman, and then on the weekends, I'm like golden retriever. Like the way I grind on a weekday, I grind. I gotta grind on my weekdays. That way I can just fully enjoy the weekend.
I love that. That is such a beautiful expression. And I understand it because and then also I love dogs. So you came
fucking too. I am obsessed with dogs.
You know how you say you're a Doberman? I am my dog, his name is Texas.
Oh.
And Texas, I wish he was here. You could have met him.
What kind of dog is he?
He is an American bully.
Cute. Oh, I see you with that kind of dog.
Yes.
That dog matches you.
He does match me.
That's very cool.
He does match me.
And the fact that he's a boy, I couldn't see you with a girl dog. Because you have a lot of woman energy.
A lot. Yes, I have.
I feel it.
I do have a lot of feminine energy.
I feel it.
I love that you feel it. During the week, I'm very, very diligent to honoring what my body needs at that moment, what it's telling me. I'm in constant awareness. So I don't really have the plans. I really like spontaneous. You know what I mean? Adventure. I love and crave adventure.
I have been on such, a journey with emotions and what they are and what they look like for me. And I think that's just kind of a human experience that happens. You You get to know yourself. If you know yourself better than anyone in this lifetime, you will then only start to see others. So
Yeah.
your life should be a consistent journey of self and
Consistent journey of self. I love that.
I think that's the journey of life, is to discover that each part of you is a part that, curates this one thing, and to be able to learn each part so
Yeah.
nicely for yourself. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, well, I'm not going to do this because this doesn't really make me feel like my best version of myself.
Yeah.
And just constantly living to be the person that you want to see, like,
Yes.
and not even just in 10 years, just by next week or something.
And
It's
it's crazy. So my podcast, the line is be the change you want to see. Right? So, and this can be in anything.
Yeah, true.
This can be in anything. So being the change that you want to see, I can choose to exude love and extend grace to others. But in order to be able to extend grace and love to others, I cannot give from an empty cup, right? I have to continue to pour into my cup so that way it's overflowing for anybody who I come in contact with that I'm ready to share with.
Yeah.
And
I think also to be wary, just because I don't know, I would like to say I think I'm a not only very understanding person, but I just also am very controlling over my emotions. Like I don't like to give all of myself to everyone and anyone, just because I think that the way my life has happened for me and how I've learned about it and my journey into that not only is still ongoing, but it's a very intense thing to, kind of look at your life and see what it's led to in a very developmental way. But I have taken a hold of my life and assumed all responsibility for it at this point, because I am an adult now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post-traumatic growth. Talk about it.
PTG. Okay. Before I start explaining it, the first thing I'm going to get into is anti-fragility, and just follow me because it's a journey. Okay.
Let's go.
It's a marathon, not a race too.
Take me on this journey.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
I don't want to claim credit for any of this. I did watch a video on anti-fragility, and some of these are just like almost divulgent thoughts to further the theory, or to have shared how it affected me and my thought process.
Yes.
So anti-fragility is looking at, the emotion of like being fragile, or I guess, what would you even call that? Emotionally fragile. Yeah.
Yeah.
So becoming not that way, and not letting your emotions control your life. Because if you were to think about it, if you let your emotions control every single part of your life, what would your life have been like today? Instead of like going with that gut feeling, be like, oh, maybe this isn't the best. And that's your head telling you that. Your gut's speaking to your brain.
Yes.
So kind of how to not be fragile in that sense, because we're noticing, or I guess anybody can kind of see, human beings were becoming so fragile.
Yes.
So soft.
So soft. And that's when we were talking about also the entitlement that we have.
Yeah.
We feel entitled, and a lot of people live and stay in a victim mentality.
Yeah, and it's harder to kind of use their brain in the sense of having almost mental fortitude, or, the ability to just kind of think through it. Get your brain at a place where you can just think through the emotion. Use your brain and not your heart or your gut, or I guess, like I said, brain and gut connection.
Yeah, brain and gut.
More so.
Yeah.
So this feeds into being a resilient person. So resiliency is, say you fall, will you get back up? As a child, where you learn that. It's a developmental piece. If you fall, do your parents pick you up, or are they like, get up? Like, that can kind of translate a child like growing up in life and choosing more of a mental capacity way of falling and getting up. So you failed a test. Are you going to study harder next time, or are you going to do the exact same thing and fail the next test? That resiliency piece is, oh, well, I'm going to go home and study and make an A on the next one, and you make an A on the next one. Resiliency 2.0 is saying, hey, I made an A on this one, but I'm going to try even harder next time. Resiliency 2.0.
Yeah.
Okay? And that resiliency piece feeds into PTG. So first, we're going to have to look at PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This is when a traumatic life situation or just situation in general happens to a human being, and it becomes a stressor of theirs. So, their quality of life is kind of put down. They, a lot of the times have to get on medication or find a way that's suitable for them to live life in extreme cases, right? Sometimes it can be very, very minor. Sometimes when I hear like an alarm, right, I'll be like, oh, like I get PTSD from iPhone alarms, because like that first thing I woke up to for many years was that alarm, right?
Yeah.
And yes, I know that is making a joke about something very, can be very severe, but I feel like if you can't use things lightheartedly, then like, why can't they?
You're not ready.
Yeah.
You ain't ready.
So PTSD is that stressor of that thing that happened to you and being triggered by it and being like, oh my God, like, things from anxiety happen. Depression is usually onset. And so then moving into the piece of PTG, post-traumatic growth, and that feeds into resiliency. So, oh my goodness, this horrible thing happened to me. But having this existential point of view and having that hold and claim for your life and saying to yourself, yes, it happened to me. Yes, it was horrible. Yes, this happened to me in the process of it. But I am not going to fall from this. And this is not going to be something that finishes me.
Yeah.
Because we're complex-minded creatures, but we're also very, very simple. Like, good food, like sex, money, like we're so simple. But why can we not have the complexity, or I would even call it respect for self, to know yourself so well that you are just so undeniable? Because if you present yourself in such a way to others, then they will only see you even with no words, they'll feel you. And so post-traumatic growth is just, getting knocked down, having that horrible thing happen to you. And I believe there's scientific evidence of like the brain and people that have had this and have PTSD, the complete opposite, being tested, and it's more so new knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And it goes a lot into, to stop postponing joy, because the more aware you are of yourself, you're able to open your heart and mind and soul and spirit to be ready to receive life and all of the beautiful blessings that are there for you, that are offered to you.
Yeah.
So the seeds that you plant, what kind of seeds are you planting? Are you planting seeds of growth and abundance and open to receive love, and your peers and people who come open to receiving a more fluid life of honoring how you're feeling in that moment, stepping into your authentic self, right? And sometimes that's scary to step into your authentic self, because some people are so disconnected from self.
This is true.
They're so disconnected from self that they have been lost in trying to seek validation in social media and family, for a dad who wasn't around. You know what I mean? I'm seeking and I'm acting out, but the root of me acting out in anger is really sadness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And why am I sad? Feel this, go to the root of that.
Yeah.
The source, right? That's going to reveal those things to you. And when you're able to feel and connect the mind, body, and spirit connection, which is being in tune, PTG, practicing post-traumatic growth, is by honoring every single one of those emotions that come in, getting to the root of it, and then also the bodily sensations that I'm feeling, and self-soothing and self-regulating. Yes, but it's really putting action behind it. It's what you are doing. Oh my goodness, yes. It's putting, it's one thing, I always say and have always lived by, don't talk about it, be about it. Because if you want to be able to speak about it, your reflection also has to reflect that in everything, in all of your actions, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, what you exude, what you're giving out, and how you're giving it.
Yeah.
You know, and for who at the having discernment of the right time to connect to your intuition to let you know, is my contact with this person, you know, how can I be a blessing to them?
Yeah.
How can I exude love? Sometimes some people need that in ways where you're just simply listening. Simply listening and letting somebody feel seen and be who they are, exactly who they are, and embracing them in that present moment and having discernment of who is. And you will know right away as you become more and more in alignment of who is still holding on to those negative compulsions and patterns and ego. And ego is the biggest thing.
I still think that only to have absolutely no ego is to take on a monk-like life. In order to have no ego is to assume nothing. Yes. And what a peaceful life, because I believe like you reach a point of existentialism when you mature.
Yes.
But if you're a young parent or something of such, you know, given a life circumstance that makes you grow up extremely fast, you're not able to reach that point to assume responsibility for all. Like, you know,
yes.
Because I do believe in generational trauma and I do believe in things of that certain nature. But I also think there's this piece that once your frontal cortex develops, you know, being that, you know, I think everyone says like 22 to 26, but I think it just ranges for how you as a person develop.
Yeah.
And I think the peak point of that is reaching this state of, this is now my life and I'm assuming responsibility for every single part of it in order not to victimize yourself.
Exactly.
Because to victimize yourself in this lifetime gets you absolutely, like it is a stagnant life that you live.
Yes, you're on a skipped record.
And I think that so many people, it's, you know, I think that COVID happened and it dropped everyone's morale for life so intensely, you know. I think quality of life at that time was so low. And so kind of to adhere to this victimization of self and, you know, get things like medication or, you know, something to like get you closer to that next day is such a hard life to live, instead of just being like, you know what, this is now my life. And you choose, like every single day when we wake, we choose what we are going to do for ourselves for that day.
Absolutely.
So your person right now in this present moment should constantly be asking yourself, what am I about to do? Will the tomorrow me be helped or hurt?
Yes. Awareness.
Yeah.
It's finding awareness and it's being present and honoring each awareness that arises. And so, like, our minds, what we feed them is what our reality is going to be. So
we are consumers, and we consume like content, food, like, you know, audio, everything we consume. We should be aware to, how is this coming to me?
We are definitely consumers. But another topic I want to get into is attachments and our attachment styles.
Ultimately, everybody has their own. Yes, everybody has their own attachment based on their dynamic with their caretaker.
I feel like I'm secure avoidant.
You know what? I have never felt so understood. Wow. I have never felt so understood. You know, I used to be more an anxious attacher. And this was because
me as well,
I would say because my dynamic, I came at a much later age. My siblings are all 13, 10, and 7 years older than me.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So I am the baby. So when I was born and as an infant, I was so loved and taken care of. And I was given that love as an infant, which was ultimately the root, the beginning for me. And what I was given in the beginning was an abundance of love.
Yeah.
Right? as I start to get older in the age where I'm able to process things. Now, my family, my parents never disclosed with us their financial status. So we were never aware of what they had, what they didn't have, right? We never knew because our life was shown consistency, which was so important, which I'm so thankful that they did, that. We never had the thought of, oh, I'm poor, oh, I'm, rich, or oh, I'm in the middle. It was nothing like that. You just never knew. And this also allowed me to grow up and be humble and accept, my mom did a lot of volunteering, ministries and stuff like that with the church. So I grew up very much in that, and she was very much intertwined in volunteering, giving. And my mom is just such a beautiful person that, she automatically, people just draw to her, but she was able to give a lot of that, to me. I inherited a lot of this as well, you know what I mean? So, and in these experiences, she would always tell me when we were going to somebody's house that she was going to go minister to and go, be a listening ear, show her love, use her light. She was going to go use her light. And she would tell me, if they have children, go interact, play with them, talk with them, show them love, And she would always tell me, don't ever think you're better than anybody, because you're not. And this was kind of the way that she would kind of tell me ahead of time before we went in, like, make yourself fully present and aware that whatever surroundings are going to be given to you, you're going to be accepting of them.
Exactly.
And that was something that I will always remember going to these random people's house, because their houses didn't look like mine. A lot of times I was in these social interactions that I had to be engaged, and I never knew what was going to be thrown at me. Right? So it was like automatically taught me to be accepting and loving.
Yeah.
And so that was the grounded root. Then as I became, 6, 7, more aware of consciousness around me, my siblings were all so much older that they were then hanging out with their friends, and they were going through their journey. And then my parents were older, so I was able to, I guess, get away with a lot more because mom and dad retired. And I'm looking at this like spoiled, raging brat, right? But really, nobody was around me. So I felt a lot of abandonment, which at that time, I didn't know that's what I was feeling. I just knew that I was left. In the 90s, it was okay for you to be left at home and be alone, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that she took on a job to help my dad because we didn't know their financials. So she just did what she had to do. And in turn, I felt neglected. So then I spent a lot of my time anxious, but alone in my anxiousness, not knowing that it was anxiousness. And I became very tense, and then I would need to go and liberate myself.
Yeah.
So I would go and hang out with the next door neighbors, and they were elderly people.
Really?
They were elderly. They were old folks. Like,
old people love young blood.
They do.
They do.
And they offered
love a young spirit.
They're
old, and they just like literally love it.
Yes, they welcomed me in their homes as a kid because I just needed interaction, and I would go and hang out. And one of them, the Niles, would let me work in their garden with them. And I started to be attached to plants and stuff because my grandmother would garden. And it's something that made me feel tied to when I would miss my grandma. I would see her working on stuff, and I appreciated it.
Yeah.
So these older family took me in as a grandkid almost. They had it was like a greenhouse, a beautiful greenhouse.
Cool.
And I got to experience that. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
That is very cool.
And then the other next door neighbors, the Hebert, that was the Niles. And the Heberts, they were would make me cookies and just talk with me outside and play with their dogs. And, so I never was alone, but those interactions where I needed it, my attachment became more disconnected with my family. And so I acted out in my teenage years because I showed it in anger, but really the root of that was sadness. You guys abandoned me. How dare you? You know, I mean, I was the star of the show when I came, and then now I'm like, y'all don't even know me. I'm a mute, it felt like. You know, so this kind of is where it began. I needed validation. I needed to be a part of a community, because as humans, that is a natural want to be a part of something, community, to be seen. It's a basic human need.
Tribalism.
Yeah, it's a basic human need to be seen and understood, and I didn't feel that way. But my mom was taking care of other people's kids and things like that, and volunteering and doing everything. She was everywhere but where I wanted her to be. And I faulted her for that, but I did not realize that I was faulting her for that. I was just acting out of my own emotions, which you said earlier. It's important that we don't get lost. But a lot of and back to that point of when you said that, a lot of people wear these masks, and behind their mask is a little boy or a little girl who was not seen, understood, validated.
But it comes into the piece of existentialism again. Like,
yes,
I could sit here and, talk about things of my childhood or something of that nature that, could make me a different person.
yes,
But I chose at a point in my life to say to myself, this is your life now. That did happen to you, and this is what it's brought on.
Yes.
And this is who you are now.
Absolutely. And that's where I found, for me, going into that childhood, it sounds like I was a victim of neglect, right? And abandonment. However, I have rewrote the narrative and was like, you know what? My parents did the absolute best that they could for the level of consciousness that they were at, and me acting out on those emotions, feeling those emotions and expressing them the way that I did was valid. I validate and self-soothe myself, right? But a lot of people have not yet made it to that stage.
I agree with that. And some children do get neglected, right?
Yes.
That may get to a certain point where they can't shift that growth mindset.
Yes. They
right?
can't shift,
but they can turn it into PTG.
Yes.
Which we talked about
Yes,
earlier.
they can turn it into post-traumatic growth.
This was awful and this happened to me.
Yes.
But I will grow.
Yes.
And that is so hard to
Resilience is hard. Sometimes you get tired of being resilient.
When faced with adversity, humans love comfortability, so they won't really take the adversity. But what if you grew up somewhere that you've had to, face adversity from the start?
As growing up, it was a lot of things to process, which has allowed me to become enlightened and to be more fluid and free, and have, instead of changing PTG again, post-traumatic growth, I flipped the narrative and I no longer became a victim of that. Instead, I raised my awareness and used somatic therapy, the mind, body, and soul connection to pinpoint when I'm starting to feel like this, whether it be with a person, a place, or thing that brings this triggered feeling, which that word gets thrown around so a lot, but the actual feeling is the discomfort that you're feeling in your bodily sensations and how it is revealing itself. That post-traumatic growth for me is being able to accept that those emotions were valid.
Yeah, and it's like to be a victim or to be a survivor. Like, which one do you want to be in this lifetime? And
sink or swim.
I would way rather be a survivor than a victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I had to, you can change your attachment style by putting action behind it.
Through repetition comes mastery.
Yes. And then when I'm starting to, fall into this anxious, like, am I going to go somewhere? I give myself a 3, 2, 1. Am I going? Yes or no? 1, 2, 3. Yes. I start putting on my clothes. I start putting action into, I am getting ready to go here. And a lot of people who have anxiety, they talk themselves out of it. They spend the time to think too much. And they start overthinking the situation. And then that overthinking goes
Anxiety
into this
is the future. Depression is the past.
Yes. What did 2022 represent for you? What did you get out of it? And your growth that you have witnessed, that you've seen, is there anything that really inspired you?
Okay. I first off want to start out by saying I'm just going to say it. I love the new year. The new year for me is just because I think that every year should be the best year of your life.
Yeah.
Because every year, like, you're gaining not even knowledge just for yourself, but just the world around you. And it's just such a growth point. And I love how there's literally a celebratory piece to it.
Yes.
And you can always wear a cute outfit. And one of my favorite things about this lifetime, and what I just love a cute outfit.
What did last year
2022.
represent for you?
I do have one word for last year.
Tell me.
Independence. And I mean it in a multitude of aspects. I moved out from my parents for the first time. I was kind of milking that, though. I will say
Yeah.
I'm 26 years old.
You know, that's one of
life
that.
at
What's
home
one
is
of the?
awesome.
That's one of the.
For me.
The advice that I would give is
Yeah.
to stay with your parents if you are fortunate enough to be able to be in that situation. There is nothing
100%.
wrong with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can. It's kind of healing to the inner child.
Yeah.
Because you are now processing things at a different rate, at a different speed, with
Yeah.
a different level of consciousness at your age, to
True.
then be able to make sense of, my parents actually did the best that they could for what they had and
I
the level
agree.
of consciousness that they were at. So it's like you no longer become a victim of.
Because you start seeing them as actual people instead of like intense authoritarian parental figures.
Yes.
You're like, they're people and they make mistakes too. Like,
Yes.
why am I acting as if they're God and make no mistakes?
Yeah.
But did they learn from their? Yeah, they did. Okay.
Some people give themselves a word, for they start for the new year. Some people are on that new year, new me vibe, right?
What was your word?
I didn't have a word.
Oh, you didn't have a word.
I didn't
Okay.
put a word because there are so many, I hold myself accountable for so many things. So I feel like the new year, what I do is I reflect back on the year that I had.
Yeah.
I reflect back on some of the time stamps that were like, because this last year I had those really, really hard hits, and there was a lot to process for that, but also I had released the podcast last year.
Yeah.
And so there's been it's kind of followed my journey of growth.
Yeah.
And so I try to keep it pushing, keep it moving, keep going forward. So I don't stay too connected in the past because I'm more so concerned about present.
Yeah. I understand.
So for me, in the new year, I do think it's important for me to reflect back of all of those events and how it has connected and taken part of the puzzle piece to my growth. Right. And milestones. This was the first. 2022 was the last year that I had a living grandparent. It was like I had a grandparent every year that happened, that I would lose one. It was like a big stamp of like, oh, it hurts, right? But you learn to, a lot of people who deal with grief, they handle it differently. Mine comes in waves. So I had to honor those feelings that I don't always have to be tough all the time and, held together, that it's okay for me to be the emotional creature that I am, but to be in tune.
Emotions are just visitors.
They're not here to stay. They're here to be felt, understood, and released and used for, like you said, the resilience. And resilience is the ability to get over difficulty quickly. And resilience, I have always had to be a resilient person. So when I reflect back on this last year, it was like another year of me having to be resilient. And this could be forever. This is my journey. This is what's happening and how I'm processing it and how I'm growing from it and what it's teaching me. Because I believe each person that you come in contact with is either a lesson or a teacher. And when we come in contact with people, we reflect off of one another some of the parts that we resonate with within our connection, right?
Yeah, nothing bad or good happens to us. They're all lessons learned.
Yes.
Which, if you were to look at a lesson learned as I would look at that as a good thing. So everything that's ever happening to us is a good thing.
It's a great thing. And so when I think about this year, I think about where I would like to see more growth and being present with my accountability and being diligent to the work that listening to my intuition and where it leads me.
Yeah.
And because the gut never lies.
It doesn't.
The gut never lies. But some people like to quiet the voice of it because they don't trust their own judgment.
And they don't eat kimchi.
And
Gut health is everything. You're trying to tap in, bitches. Like, don't think you can just be eating fucking hot chips and opening up the pineal gland. That's not the case. Fuel your body.
Yes, fuel your body, fill your body. And that's my monk life. Back to my monk life. That's what I do. I go and I be present with my body. I go use the sun to recharge. I admire the moon. I stop. I smell the flowers. You know, I take in all of the beauty that's around me and think that, like, not take it for granted. Right. Last year was Independence. And what is this year?
Damn, I chose the word independence at the end of the year, though, like knowing how the year progressed. But going into this year, I just think that this year is going to be I just have such great feelings towards it. And even how it started, I feel as though the newness is kind of what I'm coming into at this point. Because, you know, that first day you feel the newness of the year because there's a celebration. But then you're like, okay, what's going to happen? Every year is such a journey. And I feel big things are coming and, like, waves will be made in my year. So I'm so hyped for this year.
And it's funny that you say waves because this is the year of the water rabbit. So fluidity.
Yeah.
Yes. Why PTG is so important is to be able to, how beautiful is it to be able to witness your own growth and to clap for yourself and to thank yourself for all of the life and lessons that we've gone through. And for me, 2023 is just that.
I am so happy that I got to share Nora's beautiful energy with you guys. I know that y'all heard it and y'all felt it and saw how beautiful her mind and perspective is. And hopefully her message of PTG encourages you to find your resilient spirit and keep it pushing and to turn it into something so beautiful. Thank you so much for being a part of this,
Nora.
Thank you for
having me.
Thank you for sharing your love and your energy and all the juice. All the juice. I love it. I love it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
So as most of you guys already know Wardy, I love when he says, you heard me. So I was talking to Wardy about what 2022 represented to him and what he's looking forward to in 2023. So let's hear about it.
So for me, 2022 was a year of evolution for me. I think that I decided to do everything different from what I was used to doing for a long time. And I think it gave me very good positive results, you know? I was sober for most of the year. I had a slight...
Congratulations,
Thank you. I had
That's a huge accomplishment.
mishap in the middle of the year, but I don't consider it so much a mishap as a lesson and letting me know that I really wasn't missing much. You know, I'm still on a journey, and I think 2022 was a year that allowed me to get out of my comfort zone, to be different to do things differently than I'm used to doing them, to try to care a little bit more, to try to be a little bit more positive, be a little bit more social, definitely inside of my job setting, you know. And as far as 2023 goes, I think 2023 is, I'm hopeful in this year because this year, for me at least, is a year of basically honing in on the things I was getting better at in 2022, you know, so self-control, you know, trying to be more positive minded, you know, and calm natured, as a person.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of that in 2022. It wasn't a perfect year, but it was an extreme evolution for me. And I think going into 2023, I'm very confident because of how 2022 was for me as far as opening my eyes to things that I've been working on and how positive the results have been since my changes. You know, I feel better mentally.
Yeah.
Physically. Everything about my life I feel like has made an improvement since I decided to slow it down a little bit and not be so uh, impulsive, not be so uh, willing to uh, test caution,
Yeah.
because I very much come from you only live once kind of attitude about life. And now I think I've grown to cherish life a lot more and to not, feel like I'm running to the finish line so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. There's a time and a place, and the lessons, the things that you've learned, and you've definitely. I have been able to personally witness your growth and see the changes, just in how you carry yourself. I mean, everything. One of the things with third eye therapy is really just building that community and really being open to each person and their unique authentic self and really be accepting. Watching your growth has been amazing. I think you're doing so great. I'm so
Thank you
proud
so
of
much,
you, B.
Monica. I appreciate that. And I would like to just send out a message to anyone who's listening to Third Eye Therapy. I appreciate you for listening to our podcast. And I also want to say that it's a new year, right? But you don't have to have set a New Year's resolution. And what I mean by that is it's never too late to make a positive change in your life. That's my main takeaway from my 30 years of being alive, basically. There are a lot of times when I thought I was at a point where that was it. That's the end. And honestly, I think it's so crazy now because looking back, there was always a time when I could have stopped and turned around or stopped and stepped back, right? And now that I have turned around, I just want to let everybody know from the bottom of my heart that it's true, it's real. If you stop whatever things in your life that are negative and start pushing in a positive direction, it will make an impactful change on your life. And I just want to say one more time, it is never too late to do what you have to do to make a positive change in your life, and it will give you results. And this is coming from someone who I have been there, y'all. Like, I can't explain how rock bottom it was for me, but just know it's scratching the bedrock. It's like that's how low I was. So I was able to come out of that, and if I can, I truly believe that anybody can. It just takes confidence, it takes motivation in yourself, and I'm not gonna lie, it took friends, it took Monica, it took my friend helping push me in the right direction. So I'm not saying that you have to do it alone, and I definitely advise if you can't do it alone, don't. Don't be afraid to take help from your friends who genuinely care about you and push in the direction of positivity because it exists. And as long as you sit in negativity, as long as you surround yourself by negativity, as long as you embrace negativity, that's the path your life
Or
is going to be
embrace
on.
emotions that have negatively impacted you along your journey. And that's one of those things, as all of our experiences are something that are always heightened and that bring up those feelings. And just as when we started this podcast, it was really just I have been so enlightened on my journey, and I felt like if I can do it, anybody can do it. We never know who we're reaching out there. And we had listeners who I had no clue that they were listening, right? And one of them had asked me if I'm still doing the podcast thing. And I said, absolutely. Having somebody tell me, yeah, I listened to it and this helps me. So they were encouraged. It's powerful, and they were encouraged because this person was going through a really difficult time, has faced suicidal thoughts and just not wanting to be a part of anything anymore, and just really distancing themselves, letting social anxieties, etc., get the best of them. But really, it's somebody out there who's willing to listen, to be present, be seen, and understand, and also offer that to somebody else. And so I was really touched by that, and I thought that was something really beautiful. And you
Absolutely.
had a message for that person.
That's exactly right. And the messages that I've been there, I know exactly where you're at, what you were going through, and you're not alone. And I appreciate you for listening with us, being a part of the Third Eye Therapy family. And you're gonna get through this. You're gonna push forward. Like I said, just stay on the path of positivity and motivation. Because at the end of the day, when you wake up, you have to be able to, when you go to sleep and then you wake up, you want to ask yourself, am I being the best version of myself? And if there's something to work on, then you work on that. If there's always going to be something to work on. So you work on that. But don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to make things happen immediately. Nothing happens overnight. But if you take that step in the direction of positivity, I promise you will see good results in the end. Don't let the world get you down. Life's road, they tell you life's road is long and hard, but what they don't tell you about life's road is that there are lots of different forks, there are lots of little break areas, there are comfortable cities and homes across the way, there are little valleys and avenues across the road to where it's not always going to be long and hard. That's the main thing they tell you about. The road can also be beautiful. There's going to be a lot of
there's lots of sights to see. Sights, experiences,
yes.
Sensations, people that you meet along the way that inspire you. And this is one of those. Our podcast is so much different from others because we're not just giving you something just to give you something. We're giving you something that truly has inspired us, touched us, or has come and revealed itself.
Trying to give you that PTG, that post-traumatic growth.
Post-traumatic growth.
And one more thing, y'all. At any point on that road, you can stop. You can turn around. That road is not made to push you to keep going in the wrong direction. It's your choice which direction on the road you want to go, ultimately. If you are in a bad part of that road and you decide, you know what, I don't like the direction this road is taking me, this isn't looking like it's going to lead me somewhere I want to be, take a deep breath, stop on the road, and turn around. Turn around. Do whatever you got to do to start going back on the right direction. Because it's worth it for you, and it's worth it for the people that love you and your family and everything else.
Absolutely. We were talking about in this also the Chinese New Year, aka the Lunar New Year, right? So this is a reset for us of all the moon phases. So
if that's it, that's a perfect example. Look, so there's a regular New Year and then there's a Lunar New Year, right? There's two New Years. If you wanted to, right, if you wanted to make a change, right, a positive change, you don't have to think about it like there's only, I missed the New Year. There's another New Year. It's never too late to start in the right direction, And I think it's beautiful that we're able to, have a world where people can celebrate another year and people can celebrate the moon's other year, you know?
Yeah. A new beginning, a reset of the moon cycles. Which comes to, obviously everybody knows now that I am a rabbit, which this is the year of the rabbit. Now some in the Chinese folklore will say if it's your year, it's not supposed to be good luck, but I don't believe that. This is the year of the water rabbit, so this is something that is going to be, pushes me to be more fluid. I am a fire rabbit. What are you, Wardy?
The Lunar New Year would say that I'm a water monkey, but I don't personally identify as a monkey.
But listen, as a water monkey, since you come from the element of water, right? Your birth years came in the element of water. This is going to be a great year for you. Supposed to be a great year for you to embody and embrace your fluid nature already.
Hopefully, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
excited. And
So-
I will just say, to add to that, okay, the monkey is very respected in Chinese culture. Okay, Goku is a monkey. Okay, means monkey. Son Goku.
Not a lot of people know about Goku.
Nah, they don't know Goku's
Anime.
a monkey.
He's talking about anime.
They know. If they know, they know. They know.
Yeah. Wonderful, B. Thank you so much for
Of course,
giving
of
the
course.
listeners a lot of your love. Your
I want to thank y'all again for listening. Keep listening out. We got more on the way. Always Third Eye Therapy coming soon. You already know. You heard me. It's Wardy.
Y'all feel me?
Feel me.
Happy New Year, B.
Happy New Year's, Bizzle.
And Happy New Year to everyone out there listening.
Happy New Year's, y'all. Happy Lunar New Year's.
Yes, Happy New Year again, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all remember that perspective is everything. Let your triggers remind you that those are just areas for healing, and meet yourself where you're at. Let your fears remind you that they can be your greatest teachers. Let rejection show you that there's always room for redirection. Remind yourself that discomfort makes room for areas for growth. So remember to seek comfort in the discomfort, and that's where growth comes. Let your failures be the greatest lessons, and let problems be overcome, and you get through those challenges and turn pain into power. We're going to be practicing PTG all year round, and always remember how to become the best version of yourself. Nurture your relationships. Dedicate that time and energy to your loved ones, communicating clearly and supporting them. Change your way of thinking. Work to change your mindset from fix to growth in order to trigger changes in thoughts. Seek to grow and expand, so encourage yourself to learn more. Expanding your knowledge will expand your impact. And remember, take care of yourself. Nourish your body, move your body, take care of your mind. A healthy mind and body gives you more power to achieve. I'm seriously praying for God's absolute very best in your life, now and forever. All the peace, all the blessings, one love.
Feliz año 2023 para todos ustedes. Mantengan esa buena vibra. Este año 2023 viene con mucha energía de la que se ha recibido en todos los años. Queremos agradecer a nuestro Creador por mantenernos en vida en este planeta Tierra. También queremos agradecer a todas las personas que nos escuchan, gracias a nuestra gran amiga Mónica Longoria haciendo este hermoso podcast para llenar de energía a todos estos oídos tímpanos que nos llenan de alegría. Happy 2023.
Eso. Or like I like to say, no, pues guau.